Tonight, the latest executive orders from Donald Trump and how they'll impact us here in Canada. Premier Moe argues for more trade within our country to make us more energy independent. The special meaning for one Regina Pat during the team's Indigenous celebration night.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, February the 10th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Hi there, thank you for watching. We start with news out of the United States with a direct impact on Canada. President Donald Trump has officially announced 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports, including those from Canada.
It's 25% without exceptions or exemptions. And that's all countries, no matter where it comes from, all countries.
Both the steel and aluminum sectors in Canada are highly dependent on the U.S. market, and Canada has been the single largest supplier of aluminum to the United States. Australia's Prime Minister says Trump has agreed to consider an exemption for steel tariffs on his country. The latest U.S. tariff announcement came as a surprise on Sunday. Here in Saskatchewan, the impact of the new tariff remains uncertain. Regina is home to one of the 13 steel plants in Canada, and Evraz, the company that operates that plant, has yet to respond to a request for comment. Saskatchewan NDP leader Carla Beck has strong words for U.S. President Donald Trump on Monday. The leader of the official opposition says Trump's comments on making Canada the 51st state are inappropriate.
But this isn't how you treat your friends. We're not going to back away. We didn't pick this fight. But I would say, said it, and I don't know how to say this more delicately, but this shit isn't funny.
Beck said Canada needs to look at building a coast-to-coast energy corridor in order to make sure we're not reliant on our southern neighbors. Beck also called on Ottawa to implement retaliatory tariffs on the states should Trump follow through with more threats. The province says it is closely watching the tariff threat, and it has been in contact with Evraz to discuss any effects. Premier Scott Moe is in Washington, D.C. this week to advocate for Canadian trade with the United States, but he's also calling for trade with other countries, along with major changes to Canada's internal trade structures. As Chris Edwards reports, though, many of those adjustments are easier said than done.
And guarantee that the United
As President Trump's March 4th tariff deadline looms, Premier Scott Moe is outlining his strategies to better protect his province from American trade disputes. More than half of the province's exports go to our neighbor to the south, so Moe is taking the opportunity to call for major changes to our internal trading barriers.
So one is the further diversification of export markets as we increase the value of our exports. Two is to remove exemptions, as many as possible, from the Canadian Free Trade Agreement. And three is to continue to commit to the hard, tedious work of aligning regulations across this nation.
But critics say that's easier said than done. Simon Enoch says it'll be a Herculean task.
It's going to take a while, and I certainly think it's a good idea, but at the end of the day, it's going to take a long time. It's not something we can't fix this problem just by sort of saying like, oh, we'll just find another trading partner when we, give 70% of all our commodities to one country.
Moe's biggest suggestion is more pipelines connecting prairie oil to eastern Canada and the west coast. Those projects have been debated for years, fostering intense opposition from eastern provinces and environmental groups. As for internal trade barriers, Enoch is skeptical of how energizing that would be.
If you actually do some deep digging and actually look at what they say constitute as barriers, that often they're very reasonable public policies.
Meanwhile, farmers in the province are bracing for continued uncertainty.
Mainly our big talk is...
For Anston Tom's family farm north of Langenburg, the big worry is imported fertilizer and equipment.
You never know, especially with parts. I know parts are going to become hard to find and hard to come across, and hopefully nothing breaks down anytime soon.
We supply the United States.
If Canadian politicians succeed in avoiding the tariffs altogether, that may not be an issue. But Scott Moe will be working in Washington for most of the week. Afterward, he'll head to Mexico City for another trade mission. Chris Edwards, CBC News, Regina.
Premier Scott Moe caught up with Power and Politics Monday afternoon from D.C. He reiterated that he is wary of enacting any counter tariffs. Moe says his trip south is not about recruiting cheerleaders, but changing minds, reminding the U.S. that they do need our products.
Well, that's why we need to make sure that the folks that might be in the room when those decisions are made understand to the full extent what the consequences of decisions like blanket tariffs across the board, what those consequences actually are. It means higher inflationary costs for not just Canadian families, but American families as well, at the gas pump, at the grocery store. And ultimately, any sustained environment where there's tariffs in place are going to mean job losses, and not just north of the 49th parallel, but are going to mean job losses throughout the U.S. as well. That's how integrated our economies are. And that's really some of the nervousness, I think, that you'll find in industry leaders, many of which we've met with not only today, but the last number of weeks.
If you're not talking about tariffs, you're probably talking about how cold it is outside. The weekend was really tolerable temperature-wise, but things have really changed as we head into the work week. Our weather specialist Ethan Williams is by now to explain why it's so cold.
Yeah, we have a lot going on at the surface and the upper levels of the atmosphere, Sam, that are really bringing those colder temperatures our way. Here's just a quick look at how cold things got as we headed into Monday morning. Wind chills into the mid to upper minus 40s, nearly feeling like minus 50 in Saskatoon early Monday, and a very chilly minus 35 overnight in Val-Marie in southwestern Saskatchewan. Extreme cold warnings remain in place for all of South and central Saskatchewan as we head Monday night and likely for a good chunk of Tuesday as well. And here's the thing, it's not often that we see temperatures actually below minus 20 during the day in February. In Saskatoon, the average is 2 days, but so far we've had 3 this February of 2025. And in Regina, usually we have 1.5 days, but we've seen 2 so far. Sam, we are likely going to be adding to that total as we head through the week. I'll have the details in your full forecast coming up.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Federal Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says he would build at least one permanent Arctic military base within 2 years if elected. He's visiting the far north. In Iqaluit, Poilievre says this is necessary due to the rising threat from countries, including China.
Hostile powers want our resources, our shipping routes, and to be in striking distance of our continent. Let me be clear. The Canadian Arctic belongs to Canadians, and Canadians will take back control of their Arctic waters, Arctic skies, and Arctic land.
He also says his government would purchase 4 heavy icebreakers, 2 for the Coast Guard and 2 for the Navy. The Regina Pats are away on a 5-game road trip, but before they left, their last home game on Friday was also their annual Indigenous celebration night. As Darla Pones tells us, the night had a special meaning to one player in particular.
For Regina Pats forward Connor Bear, this night was a special one. The player from Ochapowace First Nation was wearing a custom Indigenous designed jersey and playing to an arena packed with Indigenous fans.
Know that we support one another and just honor each other and respect each other, and just know that we're all one as one.
The Indigenous celebration night on Friday was the second time the Regina Pats have partnered with George Gordon First Nations Development Corporation.
So they're great corporate partners with us. They help us put on this great evening where we have the opportunity to honor and celebrate Indigenous heritage, culture, language, traditions.
I'm very proud of our Cree heritage, our Métis heritage, because I got both lineage in my blood, and I'm proud of both. And I think it's about sharing that and showing the rest of society in the city of Regina that not to be afraid of us. They see the negative. This is the positive.
The game announcements were in both Cree and English.
It's really powerful, I think, especially when they're talking in both languages. I think it's Cree. It's really meaningful, and I think it's really impactful because we have so much youth here tonight.
The custom jersey showcased a star blanket design created by an artist from George Gordon First Nation. The jersey was auctioned off after the game to raise money for an early intervention program for young children.
It was awesome. I mean, actually my auntie won the jersey, so it was pretty cool to do that, but I'm so happy that it went that high and we can take that money and put it to a good cause.
Even the non-Indigenous players got caught up in the excitement.
I think it's amazing. I think it's just for the crowd. Like for us, we're having some smaller crowds this year, right? Just with new team and stuff. And I think that big crowd helped us so much. Every goal, every hit, the crowd's there with us. Every TV timeout, they're there for us, and I'm sure the crowd loved all the performances.
In the end, the Pats won 4-2, and the fans went home happy. Darla Panis, CBC News, Regina.
The 71st edition of the Luther Invitational Tournament is in the history books. 16 teams from all over the prairies competed in the annual basketball tournament held at Luther College High School. Saskatoon's Walter Murray Marauders defeated Regina's Martin Monarchs in the senior boys final. In senior girls action, Lethbridge's LCI Clippers beat Winnipeg's Dakota Lancers to take home the girls title. Two Regina teams duked it out for third, with Lebolda's toppling Miller to take the bronze. Congrats to all involved for another successful year. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. As temperatures dip, there are more calls for resources to be devoted to Saskatoon's homelessness crisis. More than a dozen advocates marched together Saturday. They shared stories of loved ones who were lost to the cold. Joyce Head joined the walk to remember her son, Kevin James Sutherland.
They need a place of warmth, a place of connection, and we have a group that's quite active in asking for this. Personally, I'm here to remember my son, who was found frozen behind a church on 20th Street here in Saskatoon 2 years ago.
There are 2 overnight shelters in Saskatoon's West End, but advocates say it's not enough. They're calling for more warming shelters spread out across the city. Saskatoon's most recent point-in-time count in October reported nearly 1,500 people living on the streets. That is nearly triple the previous count in 2022. Saskatoon's mayor is hoping a new task force on homelessness will get those numbers down. Bus drivers in Regina say violence against them is increasing and they don't feel safe. The union representing transit workers in the Queen City is calling for action. Jeffrey Tram has that story.
Operators are being assaulted just for doing their jobs.
Regina transit drivers say they're facing more violent incidents, often random and unprovoked. Police say transit-related calls have risen almost 75% since 2019. Last year alone, there were more than 200 calls. The head of the local transit union believes bigger issues are at play, from addictions to a lack of housing.
At this kind of weather, -30, -40, they're spending time in the bus shelters. They are mad at government. Government is not doing anything for them. So what happened, they whenever they see anybody in a uniform, their frustration get out on them. So bus drivers are easy target.
As a bus driver, Gainda has been attacked. One incident last October still haunts him.
When I was going to use the washroom, and I tried to open the washroom door, and something hit on the back of my shoulder. And it was really painful. When I turned around to see, there was 3 youngsters. And when I turned around to see them, one of them immediately spit on my face. And I was looking at him and I said, why? What I did wrong?
The union is calling on the city to improve transit safety and scheduling, something that will ease tension between both drivers and riders.
Last time the schedule was updated in 2013, and after that, how much traffic came, how much ridership has gained. So they have to look into this, please, and invest for the schedules for more buses and more timing, so that it will make a driver's job safe.
The city says it's installed security cameras on transit. Drivers also have protective barriers around them and two-way radios for direct access to police. Putting peace officers on buses is also under consideration. Jeffrey Tram, CBC News, Regina.
We told you last week that Saskatoon Public School Division will be cutting 80 educational assistants this month. The division is blaming the federal funding from Jordan's principal because it's not come through. The funding is intended specifically for First Nation students. Parents, teachers, and the opposition are calling for the province to step in. Aaron Gerwing's son is in grade 2 at Silver Spring School and needs one-on-one EA support. She says his assistant is on contract until April, but uncertainty is frustrating. Gerwing says it's not just about her son, but hundreds of other kids who will also be affected.
My son is autistic, ADHD, and hyperlexic. He's a genius, but he does fall behind socially, and he is not able to properly take care of himself. He has the potential to be anything in the world, but he won't be able to reach that potential without the support going through school.
We need more educational assistance, not less. We're already dealing with the shortage. This shortage has led to a number of families having children who are not allowed to attend school on a full-time basis simply because they don't have the supports there.
Lovin asking the provincial government to help retain those EAs. He also wants to see the Sask Party make adequate investment in funding education in the upcoming provincial budget. Our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. Dude! I don't know what else to say.
I'm the bearer of bad news this whole week, and I guess I just have to embrace it now, don't I?
Just put on a villain cape. That's where you're at.
That's where I'm entering my villain era, my weather forecaster villain era. Here I go. Okay, well, it's cold. We know that. And temperatures, not really doing their best today, I guess, really through the province. This is the best we did. For many locations, most of us struggling to get above the minus 20 mark. It was actually the worst through south and central Saskatchewan. This felt like minus 40 through a lot of areas as we not only struggled to get above minus 20, but above minus 25 in a lot of locations. Making it feel like minus 40 were these winds picking up in excess of 30 to 40, even near 50 kilometers an hour in some locations. And normally, when we have this kind of very cold and clear weather, we usually see the winds come down. But we do have an area of high pressure which has cleared things out. But there's an area of low pressure developing off the Hudson Bay coast, which is kind of fighting with that high pressure. And that has been picking up our winds. So this area of high pressure is located right now kind of over southwestern Saskatchewan. That'll keep skies clear for many of us as we go through the evening hours, but this cloud cover from the north is going to start to move in as we get into Tuesday morning as that high pressure departs. But another area of high pressure begins moving in as we get later into Tuesday. I think, though, for a lot of us, Tuesday will be spent under cloud cover with maybe even a little bit of some flurries at times. We get a bit of some clearing as we head into Wednesday. Thursday, though, we're watching a low pressure system develop out in Alberta, and that'll spill some cloud cover our way. And as we get into Friday, we may pick up a little bit of some snow from that system as well, kind of to be determined on that front. Winds again been gusty at times as we've gone through Monday. I think, though, with that area of high pressure kind of departing, and that low pressure moving off the coast of Hudson Bay, we're going to see those winds come down a little bit, save for portions of southwestern and west central Saskatchewan. Could be still a little bit breezy for you Tuesday, but especially getting into Wednesday, that's when it looks like that next area of high pressure takes hold. We have no other real weather systems around us, so that'll keep the winds fairly light. Now, of course, the other factor along with that high pressure moving down from the north, bringing that cold air, is the jet stream well to our south. And notice, though, that it's not only us dealing with this. From coast to coast, basically, across the country, all of us are seeing below seasonal temperatures, even out on the coast of BC and Vancouver Island. You know it's cold when even Vancouver Island is cold. See how far south this jet stream is dropping, almost to Texas in the United States. So for us, here's what that means. Still staying into the minus 20s for much of the work week. Wind is coming down, so again, wind chill's not as much of a factor until we get to the weekend in Regina. Mind you, I think overnight with temperatures near minus 30, just a little bit of wind is going to be producing those wind chills that'll be near extreme cold warning criteria, so we could see those hang on a little bit. Saskatoon, again, mid-minus 20s returning by the time we get to Friday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, looks like we get some clearing skies and possibly a break as we get a little bit later in the week. But for now, we're looking at those frigid conditions. But at least, Sam, we have the rest of the country dealing with some, well, maybe not this cold, but still below seasonal temperatures.
Yes, our villain overlord, misery loves company.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Well, it has officially snowed enough in Regina to get a full residential plow going, so that's good news. Last week, the Queen City received about 17 centimeters of snow. Because that's over 15 centimeters, winter crews are starting to plow all city residential streets starting Monday. The city is asking you to be mindful of where you park to help crews get things going and efficiently. If you go to regina.ca/plow, you'll see the schedule. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Buffy Sainte-Marie's Order of Canada has been revoked by Governor General Mary Simon. She terminated the singer-songwriter's appointment early last month. But it only became public on Friday. No official reason was given, but the termination follows a 2023 investigation by the CBC's Fifth Estate, which cast doubts on Sainte-Marie's Indigenous ancestry. She was appointed to the Order of Canada in 1997. Sainte-Marie called CBC's story an attack on her character, life, and legacy. And Ethan is back with one last look at your weather.
Did I mention it's going to be cold?
You did.
I did a few times,
A few times. Windy, too.
Yeah, windy for sure. For at least the evening through south and central. Going to see those winds come down, I think, as we head through the overnight Monday into Tuesday here. But again, near minus 30 for a lot of us. Some increasing cloudiness, again, in some central portions, especially along the northern grain belt and through the Churchill region, I think, as well. We'll maybe keep those temperatures just shy of minus 30. But into the far north, you can see there low minus 30s for you folks as we head into even Tuesday afternoon. Again, those temperatures not getting much out of the low to mid minus 20s. Some cloud cover still lingering in central areas of the Churchill region. Through south and central Saskatchewan, that cloud cover going to be moving southward as we get through the day Tuesday. Temperatures rebounding a little bit, minus 20 to 25 for many of us, and I think lighter winds is what we can expect, so not as much of a wind chill to be adding to those temperatures. And Sam, it might be really, really cold in the forecast, but Family Day weekend is coming up, and the province is hoping you'll get outside a bit. Free fishing weekend is back. That means from February 15th to 17th, people will not need an angling license to go ice fishing on provincial lakes that allow sport fishing. All other regulations still apply, though, including possession limits. So let's hope for maybe a bit of a warm-up.
Bit of a warm-up. A bit of less wind. I'm happy for the sport fishers. I will be cozy at home.
Yes, although I'll come visit those really cool ice shacks out there too.
All right, thanks for watching.
Yeah.